Hello everyone, welcome to Helix Cloud Games. My name is Richie and this is CloudQuest, a cloud gaming show where I take a deep dive into one particular topic. This week we're talking about what is the status of cloud gaming in 2022, and joining me on this quest is none other than Mr. Chris.
Hello gamers.
But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that bell icon for notifications when all our great shows go live, such as our 3rd year anniversary stream, which might be happening at the time you're watching this right now. Hi, if it is. I hope you're enjoying the show.
Well, I'm tired. We've been up
this is like
hours now.
hour 11 of the celebration stream if you're watching it there. If not, members will be getting this on Sunday as usual, the day after the stream, or like which happened a week ago if you're watching this as a free feeds. Make sure you hit that bell icon and subscribe to the channel so you know when all great shows drop. As I already said, Sounds of Stadia every single Monday on YouTube and podcast services, where we break down the Stadia news. Our PlayStation show, Talking the PS, we'll break down all the PlayStation news in the clouds, happens every Tuesday. Our live streams, our first looks, all the great stuff we have for you. So Chris, for this episode, I kind of wanted to just kind of go through some of the biggest players in cloud gaming at the moment, and kind of just go through the pros and cons, because every single one seems to have a slightly different approach to the business model of cloud gaming.
Definitely, and we've seen some kind of evolution as well over the last year. I think it's been a while since we sat down and actually stacked them up side by side. I know we did early doors of this show.
Yeah.
But actually, they've all had a bit more time to aerate and find their feet as such.
So, this is not about ranking them and saying which one is better than the other, because I think we can straight off the bat, we'll just say it's all subjective. It depends on your use case.
And
however, Luna's the worst because it's not out in the UK. So you've lost. I
mean, be outside the US, not just UK specifically. For us, anyway.
Yeah. For me, subjectively, Luna's the worst because I can't access it. So...
Yeah, I mean... It is actually an interesting point that it's not expanded. Like, before we get into them all, like, I really thought at the end of 2022 we'd be sat here with it fully rolled out. Well, I mean, not fully rolled out, but in more countries, especially like mainland Europe and such. And yet,
we generally thought we had this solid expectation that when it came out of early access, that's when they were going to make the global launch, and they didn't. Yeah. So anyway. So yes, weird. But jokes aside about Luna being terrible because it's not in the UK, it's not about ranking. It's just about kind of just weighing up what are the pros, what are the cons of each platform. Because I think all the major platforms, which I'm defining as Stadia, Xbox, PlayStation, Luna, and GeForce Now, they all have definite pros of each other and definite cons. So I think it's quite an interesting thing. But since we started off as a Stadia dedicated channel, I think we start with the one we know the most, we've got the most experience with, Xbox. We do. not Stadia. It's got a Stadia.
Yeah. I mean, where do you start? Like, first off the bat, we've been covering Stadia for 3 years now. I mean, literally when this show goes live, it is our 3rd year anniversary. So we have been covering this platform for 3 years now. It is undoubtedly, to date, from the stuff we have practiced, again, caveat, haven't played Luna yet, but I have played xCloud and we've dabbled in GeForce Now and stuff over the years. The technology, hands down, the best. We've streamed so many, literally days worth of content of Google Stadia, and it runs flawlessly. Yeah.
The only issues we've had with Google Stadia in terms of performance and potential things like artifacting and stuff is when our internet on our end, or our ISP end, has let us down.
Absolutely.
But
obviously,
that is something that I don't think you can use in the con pile, because that is literally con for all these platforms.
Yeah, if you have shit internet, none of these are going to work great for you. Yeah. Like, that's a hardened fact. Like, it's just not. You need internet for cloud gaming, good quality internet for cloud gaming anywhere. So yeah, the technology, from my point of view, it's been the best I've trialed so far. I'm looking forward to Luna just to see how it runs on the AWS servers.
I've heard really good things about Luna's performance. I've heard it's comparable, but again, this is all heard, not experienced.
Exactly, firsthand. Next thing I'd probably say, moving on with the Stadia stuff, the model of it all. So if you're out there and you've not checked out any of these yet, the dream of Stadia is it's pretty much a traditional console marketplace in the cloud. If you want to buy a game outright, you buy a game outright and you have access to that game in perpetuity until you cancel or throw away your controller or whatever. But you'll still own it, I guess, digitally somewhere. You also have a subscription model, which gets you free games and access to higher perks, such as 4K and 60 when it's applicable to the game. But the biggest thing for me, and I think one of the reasons we appreciate Stadia's business model hands down, is because it does follow that traditional console platform basis that, if you want to buy a game, buy a game. You want to pick something up in a sale, pick it up in the sale. You do not need to be subscribed to anything to enjoy a purchase on Google Stadia.
I think there's still people out there who think you need to have Stadia Pro to access Stadia. You do not. In fact, there's some game. I think is Destiny completely free to play on Stadia.
Destiny, PUBG, I think as well, amongst a couple of other things.
I think all you need is a Gmail account, and even then for the trials that they're bringing out, you don't need Gmail accounts. So, but if you wanted to play Destiny 2 in the cloud and your saves carry across, you just can. It will cost you nothing.
And that was arguably probably the marketing initially early doors. I genuinely think if Stadia didn't launch with Stadia Pro, it just launched as a platform to buy your games
Stadia
and play
Pro
them
like a year in.
I think all of that confusion, because let's face it, so many websites picked up on it and so many people on social media, without reading into it, picked up and went, oh, you have to subscribe to Stadia Pro to play the games. You just don't. So if you're watching this now and you've not checked out Stadia, you could just go on the shop now, look at the sales. If you saw, I don't know, Assassin's Creed Origins for £15, you could buy it and play it in perpetuity as long as you wanted without subscribing to anything, without committing to a Ubisoft Plus subscription. You just bought the game and you own it. And that can't be said for a lot of the other streaming services we're about to get into, which I think is a big feather in the hat for Stadia, because as much as the criticism it gets, you and me have enjoyed so many games, such as like Ubisoft ones, for example, where we've played them in the subscription for £15 a month or whatever Ubisoft Plus is, but then we've seen it in a sale and we bought it outright.
I'm an advocate for Ubisoft Plus on Stadia as well, because what it gives you is choice. And I think that's a good thing. You can, and I have advocated for using Ubisoft Plus to play games. But then again, I think when Ubisoft Plus first came on, it came on pretty much at the same time as Rainbow Six Siege. I bought Siege because it worked out overall. I thought, well, buying the game is going to be cheaper, and I knew we were going to make a lot of content around it. So I bought Siege, and it didn't get Ubisoft Plus. But then later, things like Rise of the Republic, I got Ubisoft Plus instead.
And the big thing is, choice. Absolute choice. It's down to the consumer. If you want to play, so the good example coming up this winter, Skull and Bones, £70 title. If you want to play Skull and Bones, drop your £70 on it, play the game for as long as you literally want to. Alternatively, if you don't want to spend £70 on it, subscribe to Ubisoft Plus, £15 per month, enjoy it every month, you renew your subscription. But then, you know what? When you're done with it, maybe £30 in, 3 months in, £45 in, you've still not broke even on that £70 purchase for the outright game, and you just unsubscribe. The difference being is you've lost access to the game. However, Stadia is there, so if you did think, you know what, I'm enjoying Skull and Bones, but I don't want to keep paying for subscription in perpetuity, then you just cancel your subscription and just buy the game when it's in a sale, maybe one winter. Yeah.
So before we move on, I think we do need to touch on the negatives of each of these platforms. We can't just be straight up advocate. We need to be balanced. The biggest problem with Stadia, we've been saying for time and time and time again, is the game library.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100% absolutely. And that example there, if I want to buy games, the problem I've had personally, and you have as well, Richie, is for the last year, for the entirety of 2022 so far, I have not wanted to buy a game on this platform. Like FIFA 23, which comes out later this week at the time of recording, will be my first game of the entire year I've wanted to put my own money down and buy outright day one on Google Stadia.
That's because
nothing else has came. That's interested me.
Yeah, off the top of my head, there's only one game that, at the time of recording, because FIFA isn't on the platform yet, but I will be buying that on Stadia. One game on the platform that I do not own that I would like to play, and that's Trails of Cold Steel 4. However, I want to play through 1, 2, and 3 first. I have 3 on Stadia as a pro game, 1 and 2 aren't on the platform, so I bought 1 on PlayStation because the games aren't there. That's a problem. Stadia have lost my sale. So I will be playing, if I do eventually get to 3, I'll be playing on Stadia because that's where I already have it. But I'll have a decision to make with 4. Do I go back to PlayStation? I think it's on Switch as well. I have access to that. Or do I commit to Stadia on that? I don't know. I haven't made that decision. But I think that is the biggest con of Stadia. It's just there's no guarantee of the latest and greatest games coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know people out there, I know probably someone watching along now is thinking like, well, I've got a back catalogue of games, but just to rattle off a few, we got Rainbow Six Extraction kicks off the year, and then we didn't get Grid Legends, we didn't get Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, we didn't get any of the PGA games, we didn't get Madden this year, NBA didn't come again this year, we're not getting Gotham Knights. What else came out this year that we've missed, Richie? Skywalker Saga, Lego Skywalker Saga, we missed out on that one as well. I'm trying to think what big titles have come out. Usually have a list in front of me.
It's been quite a quiet year.
It's been a barren year, but not in the industry, just on Stadia.
It's been quite quiet, I think, for the industry as a whole, which is probably why you're struggling to rattle off huge titles, but it's been even more barren on Stadia. And I know there's a lot of people, as you mentioned, who got a huge backlog. I'm okay, but that doesn't do much. We're talking about this from the view of how people view the platform. And if you're looking, for example, excited to play Assassin's Creed Mirage, it's not coming to Stadia.
Yeah. Elden Ring. Light,
yeah.
Stray.
None of them coming to Stadia. So if these are games that you're interested in playing, they're not on the platform, you're not as interested in that platform for even when the game that you want to play drops.
Yeah, and we've said it time and time again. It's like, it's no disrespect to the back catalogues that you have out there, but the reality is, if the user base of the platform doesn't grow, it won't be around forever.
Yeah,
because
it costs Google to keep this service running. And
Absolutely.
so if it's no longer profitable to them, they will come a time when they decide to pull the plug, which therefore they need to... It needs to grow.
Yeah, and like that, the reality is, if you are a PGA, an NBA, a Madden fan out there, you've gone elsewhere and spent your money on another platform this year. So yes, you might have a back catalogue however, I've got a back catalogue on Stadia of probably like 40 games. Half of them are pro games that I've not touched yet. But when God of War comes out later this year, and again, first party exclusive, I get that. When God of War comes out, or Callisto, actually we'll go third party, Callisto Protocol comes out. It's not on Stadia, so I'm going to play it on my PlayStation. So that's Sony and Crafton have got £60 out of me because I want to play it. But I would have bought it on Stadia if it was available. Not having the games is less money in your pocket.
If you're a big Dead Space fan and you're looking forward to Callisto Protocol, which is like a spiritual successor to Dead Space, and you're not invested in any particular platform, Stadia is off your list because it's not coming.
Mm-hmm.
Which means you might pick up a PlayStation or an Xbox, which means then, well, you're in their ecosystem, so why would you be interested in Stadia? But I think that's enough for Stadia. Let's move on to the other major, I think, cloud-only platform that is actually a platform, and Luna.
Amazon Luna.
Jokes aside, it's US only. So we can't really talk too much about how it performs. We've heard good things.
Yeah. So I think starting just off the back of what we're saying about Stadia, the games library, I think for one thing, it suffers from a similar situation where at the moment, because it is only locked to the United States, but at the same time, when you look at the list of games, it's got some great titles. It's got some that a little bit different to what you've got on offer at Stadia. But at the same time, it does suffer from the lack of the AAA games. However, it was still in beta for a lot longer time. It's not fully rolled out yet, so they kind of do get a pass in terms of the full library.
I don't think we give them a pass too much anymore because it's no longer early access. It's no longer in beta. This is basically they've announced that this is a fully fledged platform at this point. So I think if it's not getting the same AAA games as like Stadia, I think you have to hold them to the same account at this point. Previously, it got a pass, so the negativity hasn't built as much as it has over Stadia. But again, it suffers like, why would you go into this platform if the games that you want to play aren't coming?
Yeah, I mean, that's subjective because they're 2 years younger as well. So you wouldn't expect them to have the games library because they're still 2 years tracking behind in theory. But in terms of the games library, I think there's some great games in there. There's some typical indie filler games in there as well. But the big difference in terms of the library is how you access it. And the big sticking point for, I think, both you and me and a lot of our viewers and listeners is if you want to buy a game just outright and play whenever and wherever, you can't. You genuinely don't have that option. So if you wanted to buy Ukulele... Oh, sorry. We'll use a multi-platform one. Sorry, Control. You wanted to play Control on Luna, you have to subscribe to Luna's monthly plan. Luna Plus, it's the Luna Plus channel.
Yes.
And then if you decide to stop paying, you can no longer access Control.
Or they decide to remove it on October the 19th, 2022.
I was going to get into that, but yes, there's also that risk. So if I bought the game on another platform, like physically bought it outright, I can play that game whenever and wherever without a subscription. And as you've just mentioned there, Richie, we've seen some articles come out and I've seen some discourse in the Luna Discord that, some video games, Control in particular, have started popping up with a little banner at the top that says this game will leave Luna Plus on this particular date. And Control is one of them. So I don't know, Richie, where Control is going to go. Because if it's not on one of the channels and Luna don't let you buy the game outright, how do you play Control on Luna after this date?
You can't. Unless they announce another gaming channel. And again, this is the thing with Luna. We say it's a sub-only model. It's not a single sub model. It is like subscribing to Netflix and Amazon Prime and whatever else.
It's like cable TV, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get your packages.
You're subscribing to each package. Games may come and go from each channel. Which, while the individual channels aren't huge in price, I think it's one that could quietly add up to become quite expensive. Yeah,
if you want the family bundle because you've got a kid, and then you want the Ubisoft one because you fancy playing Assassin's Creed, but then at the same time you fancy a retro one, you're talking $10 for the Luna Plus basic one, which gets you like Saints Row, Dirt 5, like your variety. It's basically your variety TV package. You get a mix of everything, and then you've got your family channel, which is like your kids' TV, your Nickelodeons, your Cartoon Networks, and then you've got your retro channel, which is what your dad sits and watches cars get built up from the ground up at 6 o'clock in the morning when he gets up early on a Saturday.
And documentaries about
documentaries about that and how they sell them on and everything to do with cars and stuff like that. That's that kind of channel. Then Ubisoft Plus, which is at $18 a month as well. So obviously that's great as a standalone, but it only limits you to just Ubisoft games. And then there's a Jackbox Games channel if you just want to play Jackbox games. And then there's the Prime Gaming one, which we'll get into. But if in its total summary, if you wanted access to everything, you're talking like $40 almost.
You know what I think we need to do one day? When Luna finally comes to the UK, we'll go through all the channels and break them down individually. Because I think that's the only way to really gauge what the value of each of them is. Because it feels like Luna isn't a single thing. It's multiple different ways of... And I think, for me, if I was a parent, the family channel would be great. Because you could just give your kids access to that. You're paying a monthly fee, and then you can just play anything that's on there.
Yeah, and then this, I guess, it goes back to just how you visualize your game library. Because if you had like children and you wanted to buy one of the outright games, say Spirit's Lucky Adventure or something like that for your daughter, you could just buy it on a sale on another service for, say, I don't know, 15 quid outright. Done. Your daughter can play that forever, whenever, without you having to go, oh, come here, I need to put my bank details in, I need to subscribe us back to that for the month.
if you're thinking of a parent who is invested in video games, if you a parent who has no concept of video games,
True.
having a family channel where you know everything in this package for a small fee a month is suitable for your children, that must be a nice thing. You know what, I'm happy to pay whatever it is, a couple of dollars a month, and then just give my kids a controller, and then they're happy. There's new stuff being added. You know everything going on there is suitable for them. It's no stress.
Is there that risk though that all I see with looking at all these is subscription fatigue, where in the back of my mind I've got Netflix, I've got Disney Plus, I've got Amazon Prime at the moment, I've got Now TV for House of the Dragon. That's 4 of them. Then I've got my cable service ones already. I've got my phone subscription for my mobile. I've got my PlayStation Plus. I've got my Stadia Pro. I don't have Xbox Game Pass at the moment. I'm sure there's other things I'm forgetting. And then I look at this and like, right, so if I want to play Ubisoft games, I need to pay $18 extra. If I want to play a retro game once this month, so any day out the next 30 days, it's going to cost me another $5. Even if I just want to dip in and play Centipede for 20 minutes, it's going to cost me another $5. And it's just, I can see it just stacking up and getting uncontrollable.
There is that problem. If it depends on how the UI handles it. If you can go into the UI and quickly, easily sub and unsub to channels with like one click, or maybe 1 or 2 clicks to get it done, it's not too big a deal. But if you have to dig through menus and find out where the unscrubbed things are, and you get like 8 prompts to actually, are you sure?
Card details.
But I don't know. This is the sort of thing, until we can get hands-on, it's hard for us to say.
Yeah, if there's anyone out there who's watching along who lives stateside, like I'd love to hear some feedback in the comments, because the reality is, Richie, we've been covering Stadia for 3 years. It's been out in the States for over a year now, and I don't see much coverage. And I try and follow anyone and everyone to do with cloud gaming. And even, like I've said a few times on multiple podcasts, if you look at Luna's footprint right now, just on socials, on Twitter, only got 21,000 followers. Still, 21,000. To put that into perspective, without making direct comparisons, the social media manager for Stadia has 14. So that's just one individual who happens to run the social accounts for Google Stadia has 14 herself. And Google Stadia, for all its sins, sitting at 259,000. And again, I know this is just like, it's just a metric I can put it to a side, but I think that's, I don't know whether it's marketing. Like, if you live in the United States, how do you see Luna marketed outside of maybe Amazon's website? Like, do you get prompts? Is it really being pushed that hard? You and me have seen a couple of we're big Kind of Funny fans, Kind of Funny Games. Yeah. They've done a couple of sponsored streams. I've seen that from time to time. But
it's a case of when they no longer get sponsored, they put the controller down and
they don't give a shit about it. Yeah. They get paid for their bit, and they always say it's sponsored. They enjoy it. And then they bounce back to naturally what they cover, PlayStation, Xbox and such. But it's an interesting one. Games library, until I get hands-on with it, I'm keen to see. I like that it's something different. Like, that's the great thing with cloud gaming, is you're not beholden to any of these platforms. You can just bounce between them all.
This is why at the top of the show I said, we're not ranking these or anything like that. It's because it's all going to be subjective, where I think me and you would prefer the a la carte approach of Stadia over the sub-only model of Luna.
We're old school gamers.
Yeah, but if you prefer that model, then Luna's better for you than Stadia.
Yeah, so you know what you do? You just subscribe to a different one next month. But I do like the thought of just clicking and playing. Yeah,
talking about a different one, I think we cover GeForce Now next.
Oh, I was going to talk about Prime Gaming.
Oh,
just albeit briefly, just because that's another string that they have, that if you're an Amazon Prime customer, which I already am, and like 140 million people I think are in Europe, let alone the I think the United States is something like 300 million in 2021. So like that's 300 million people out there who have Prime for TV or fast delivery, and you get a selection of games every month with them now. And I think that's a nice option for Luna, that you could actually play Luna with the subscription you've already got and you're already happy and paying with. Like, you have Prime, right?
Yeah, at the moment for Lord of the Rings.
I have Prime right now. So yeah, you've got it for Lord of the Rings, but
I don't have it all the time, but like when something like Rings of Power comes, I definitely want to watch this. I'll get it. And then I'll make use of it. But then, I tend to make use of, like, occasionally they'll go, oh, if you want to buy this thing, do you want to get a week of Prime for 99p? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then
free delivery.
Again, the big standalone difference for Luna, if it was available in the UK right now, you could just, now you're watching Lord of the Rings, you can now go play Hot Wheels Unleashed, Ukuleles Impossible Lair, Earthworm Jim, Yeast, which one is it? 9, Monstrum Nox.
Yeah.
All available as part of Prime. So you would have access to those games through the click of a button.
You've just listed games either I already have played or have no interest in playing. But that's an aside.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, it's going to change next month, and there'll be a whole new list of games. So it's kind of similar to the Pro subscription, but through an existing service. So maybe Google Stadia could do something with, like, if you're a YouTube Premium subscriber, you get access to the Pro games for free. And that goes back to a whole other side quest we talked about, where we fuse YouTube Premium and Google Stadia Pro together. But again, that's for another time. You wanted to talk about GeForce Now, Richie?
Yes. I think we'll talk about GeForce Now, and we'll wrap up by going through Xbox and PlayStation fairly swiftly, because with their kind of hybrid platforms we can get into later. But GeForce Now... I'm on record many times saying it's a utility, not a platform. Mm-hmm. But I want to, which I think some people, I don't know if anyone finds it controversial. I could see how some people might. But the reason I say it's a utility is because you can't buy games on it. What it does is it allows you to access game libraries you already have on other platforms such as Origin, Steam, and Epic Game Store, and take them into the cloud. So I think it's actually a fantastic utility, which is probably the biggest thing. I think that is a big plus for it, that it gives you access to already existing game libraries, which is literally the downfall of Stadia and Luna.
Yeah, they're starting to create their own libraries from scratch, whereas, GFN utilizes existing libraries. And I'm completely with you on that one. Like, it's no disrespect to GFN. I just don't see it as a platform, because I can't... I mean, it is a platform, you know what I mean? Like, it's a gaming platform, because I cannot buy a game through GFN. I'm not going to an NVIDIA GFN site and seeing the library and clicking buy. Yeah. What I'm doing is I'm buying it through Steam or Epic, and I'm streaming it through the power of GFN as a utility. Which is
literally the strength of it.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Like, when if I was to play God of War, I'm not playing it on GFN. I mean, I am, but it's a hard one to explain, actually. I can see why the wires crossed a little bit. But I've bought God of War through the Epic Store. I've paid money to Epic Games to play God of War, which is a PlayStation game. All I'm doing is paying for a subscription to access it at the highest graphic fidelity, because I might have a shit PC at home, or I want to stream it on a different device. And again, it's no disrespect to it, but I don't think it should be compared in the same world as Stadia and Luna, because I can't buy anything through GFN. Yeah. It's a utility. It's a cloud utility that does a fantastic job at what it does. But until they have their own storefront, I don't see the direct comparison between Luna or Stadia.
The benefits of GeForce Now is you can get up to the 3080 tier, which allows for things like ray tracing, which you can't get ray tracing on Stadia. I'm not sure on Luna. I don't think you can. The biggest downside of GeForce Now for me is some of the terms and conditions. Like, for the highest the priority tier, which is kind of the mid tier, it's not your 3080. So, but this is a premium service. This is costing you £8.99 a month. It's 1080p ray tracing on, which is good. It's max 6 hour session length. So you're getting potentially... I mean, 6 hours is a long time to be sat there playing games, but I personally don't like how long I'm playing a game for to be dictated to me. And the key thing that's always annoyed me is this wording, priority access to premium servers. It's not guaranteed access, which means that there is the potential for queues. Anecdotally, I don't think anyone's ever had a problem. Mm-hmm. However, I would be severely pissed if I was paying £9 a month for access to a service, then got told I had to wait half an hour, because too many other people were using it.
And that's where I've kind of just fell out with GFN, because I don't... Again, subscription fatigue's one thing. I don't have a extensive Steam library. Like, I don't know how many games do you have in yours, roughly off the top of your head?
Steam. I've got hundreds, but none of them are new.
Yeah, like I've got like a handful, if that. Yeah. So it just I don't have that appeal. I know loads of people who've got like 2 decades worth of games, it's fantastic because it opens up an access to a library that you maybe PC can't run or you've not wanted to download or something. But without that, I wouldn't want to pay a subscription and be put in a queue or kicked out, more importantly, because the servers are busy or full. And I think that's just down to the GeForceN's kind of like set up database. They don't have as many servers as Google or Amazon because they're not as big as Google or as Amazon.
Yeah, I see one of the benefits of GeForce Now being if you're a PC gamer, but your graphics card's getting dated now because of the next generation of games, you can't get hold of one because of chip shortage, or Nvidia do weird things like, well, although the 30 people still can't get their hands on 30 series cards, we're going to bring out the 40 series cards at $1,500, which is spicy. GeForce
Spicy
Now,
and pricey.
is something where you can go, well, actually, I can take my older PC and play modern AAA games at a good level, but instead of having to fork out literal hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds for an upgrade, sometimes getting close to £1,000, if not more, I can just pay a relatively okay subscription fee. For the 3080 tier, it's £17.99.
Yeah.
And that's basically top-level gaming. Yeah, you're getting there. Up to 120 frames per second, 4K, ray tracing. It's a beast. It's arguably worth the money. Like, if I was hardcore into my PC gaming, didn't have PlayStation, wasn't interested in Stadia, I'd be strongly considering that.
But if you were that hardcore into PC gaming, wouldn't you just have the best tech anywhere?
It's money. Maybe you can't afford it right now.
True. There's one thing when I look at the RTX 3080 for £17.99 a month. I just look at it and think, for £2 less, I can get Ubisoft Plus, tons of games, and I can just play them through Ubisoft Plus on Luna or Stadia for the same price. So whereas this one, I would have to pay the £17.99, then go buy the games through Steam or Epic. So I'm kind of like, I get the a la carte option of buying them, but then I still have to subscribe to play them. And if I suddenly can't afford it 1 month, or I get kicked out of an 8-hour session, not that I'm going to have an 8-hour session, I just think like it's paying for things unnecessarily when I don't need them. And again, if you're into that kind of high fidelity tech, more power to you. But as someone who's just quite happy with the way games are running in the cloud right now, I just look at that and think I could get tons of games for less than I'm paying for just the access point.
Yeah, I can see it being like a bridge between like, I can't afford to upgrade my hardware yet. This can bridge the gap until I can. And also, this gives me the ability, as I said, it's a utility, to play games that I already own on the move.
Absolutely. So, and just to stress, GFN is fantastic at what it does. I think it's 100%. The best form. It's better than Shadow. I haven't checked Shadow out. It's better than... What's the other one?
And there's
Shadow...
some of the...
Cloud? Not Cloud.
There's a couple of smaller ones.
There's going to be a lot of
Boosteroid, Atomic,
Boosteroid, that's it.
Ubitus, which I do one day plan to do a CloudQuest on some of them. But
10 cents, whatever.
I haven't got round to it. I haven't got round to researching them enough. So
yeah, there's going to be more. Like the cloud gaming scene is still so young.
Yeah. Right. So let's quickly go through Xbox and PlayStation. Which one do you want to cover first?
I think we can kind of just dip into PlayStation.
I think one's going to be more positive than the other. I think.
Yeah, we'll dip into PlayStation because it's quite easy. That it's a poor effort from arguably the biggest game company in in terms of like units sold and such, best franchise IP in my opinion, and I absolutely adore my PS5, but their cloud offering is just terrible right now. It was bad as PlayStation Now. Sorry, it got folded into PlayStation Plus to arguably give it better value, and they've done nothing with it. They've not really improved it. If you try and access PlayStation Plus through a PC web browser to play cloud-only games, it's appallingly bad. The interface is so bad and basic.
What's been annoying me month and month since they folded that into PS Now into PlayStation Plus is every month they're in the blog, they'll go, here's all your PlayStation Plus games and here's your mid-month games. They don't designate which ones are available in the cloud.
You don't have a clue. And then on the same time, Richie, if I access streaming through my console, so like actually on the PS5, it's a different game list than what you get on the PC browser. Yeah, I can boot up The Last of Us on my PS5 to cloud stream, but if I go on PlayStation Plus cloud streaming through a web browser, The Last of Us does not boot up. there's just some weird wires crossed. It's only last gen. It's only PS4 games only, so none of the PS5 stuff's going to launch. So it's just so limited, and it's not thought out, and I just don't think Sony are ready to fight in this ecosystem just yet.
I've got the impression they're reluctant about cloud gaming in the future, but almost feel forced into it.
Yeah, they love their console too much. We've seen it. Like they've put too much stock in a physical box.
We're going to talk a bit about Xbox soon, but Microsoft seem to have struck a nice balance. Where I actually think the balance between having the physical hardware and then also having everything in the cloud as well can be a good balance. So when you're at home, you're on your PS5, you get an absolute peak performance because local hardware is always going to beat out cloud gaming.
Yeah.
1 for 1. Because there's more steps involved in cloud gaming. There's compression artifacts and stuff. But then if you're on the go, you can switch to the cloud. So you often work away from home. You could be playing God of War Ragnarok. Ideally, situation, you're playing God of War Ragnarok on your PlayStation 5. Oh, I have to go to the other side of the country for work. I'm just going to take a laptop and I'll just continue in my DualSense, and I'll just continue on my laptop in my hotel room. Exactly where I left off.
That's the dream.
But the PS5 games aren't there, so
I can't do it. So I'd have to either pack the whole thing away.
They are bringing back PS3 games forward through the cloud, which is allowing that backwards compatibility, which they've always, because of the architecture of the PS3, been struggled with. That's a benefit. Yeah,
but we've not seen them embrace it fully yet. It's lackluster.
It's very lackluster, and it's definitely got some improvement to do.
And it's disappointing.
But I hope this is the start. And they don't go, well, people weren't playing in the cloud, let's get rid of it. I hope they realise, no, what we've put out is pretty shoddy. Let's improve it and go for it.
Absolutely. And I guess kind of this is where, like, pivoting to our last point, which is Microsoft, is they've kind of embraced the best of both worlds. They have multiple boxes. They have the Series S is your entry level to next gen. Then you've got your X as your top tier powerhouse. And then in between all that, the ecosystem of xCloud, now renamed as Xbox Cloud Gaming,
which will support you.
It's much more convoluted. Yeah, just xCloud worked. It was so good. Access, again, them doubling down on this Game Pass subscription model. It's one subscription. You can play on console or cloud for pretty much most games. A lot of them was touch input. We've not touched on touch input, but a lot of the others do offer it as well.
Yeah.
However, Microsoft are really leveraging cloud gaming as a utility to their existing ecosystem, and that's when they've
done what I said the dream for Sony. They've done that. Microsoft have done that.
Yeah. You want to play AAA games like Halo Infinite, Gears of War, Sea of Thieves, have at it. Day one with a subscription. But not only that, you can play them in the cloud as well. That means your save file will bounce between all these ecosystems. Games are coming in hot off the press, AAA, like Starfield from Bethesda next year. AAA title, don't pay £70 for it. It's part of Game Pass for $15 a month. Boom, there it is. You want to play on your phone? Go do it. You want to play at home in its highest graphic fidelity? You do it. It's just seamless. And they haven't even got like their stick out for the TVs. We haven't really gone into that, but like Luna's accessible on a lot of smart TVs now in the States. Stadia is available on LG, Hisense TVs, Samsung.
xCloud, I think, is on the Samsung Gaming Hub. So for modern TVs, you're getting it there. The idea of the dongle is for people who have older TVs. It's to bridge the gap.
Yeah. And again, we shouldn't give them credit where credit's due. Game Pass is great, but it is missing that a la carte option. However, there was a Verge article earlier this year which quoting direct from Xbox, the team Xbox, we're excited to share that later this year. It is our intent to roll out the ability for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members to play from the cloud select games they already own or have purchased outside of the Game Pass library. That's from Will Tuttle, Xbox Wire Editor-in-Chief.
Which is having the key benefit of Stadia in there.
Which is, so as much as people criticize Stadia for having just the a la carte option, Microsoft have kind of done it the reverse way, where they've built a massive Game Pass library with AAA quality titles and all these extra games being added constantly. And then now they're saying, oh, and by the way, as an additional perk, if you're an Xbox Ultimate member, all those games you bought in the years gone by, you now can play them in the cloud as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about what Microsoft are doing is going, do you like a box on your TV? Well, you can. Do you like playing the cloud? Well, you can. Do you want to buy games a la carte? Well, you can. Do you want to have a single subscription service to play most of your games? Well, you can.
you want to pick which controller colours you want?
Well, you can. Sony looking at you on that one. And Stadia.
Well, everyone.
Stadia, yeah.
Everyone else.
Yeah.
And it goes to something to say, Richie. I think out of the entire breakdown we've gone through, I think Xbox ticks the most boxes. And we always try and stress...
Maybe have box in the name.
Yeah, they tick all the Xboxes. But to stress, you and me, neither of us have owned an Xbox before.
Nope.
And we're the ones who I can only sing its praises.
Yeah, the closest I've come is I own 2 Xbox 360 controllers, which I bought for playing FIFA on PC.
I have a custom design
you have a custom one. I'm waiting for the dongle so I can play on my Xbox games on my TV.
Yeah.
And then I will be back, as long as it's not ridiculously priced, I'll be picking up the dongle. I'll probably pick up a Design Labs controller at the time.
And we'll do some Game Pass. But it just goes to show you, in 2022, cloud gaming is so diverged, so different, but so similar at the same time. Like, the reality is you can only do so much with a business model that is selling a video game to the public. They've all got different approaches, for better or for worse, and hopefully none of them are going anywhere. Like, hopefully Luna's actually going outside of the United States so we can test it out ourselves. But I think Microsoft, they weren't frontrunners initially with their tech, like the streaming and stuff, but then as they've worked at it over time, they've upgraded the servers, they've done more marketing, they've added more games to Game Pass. They're just being so consumer friendly, it's hard not to love them for what they're doing right now. And that's someone who's not an Xbox fan. Like, I am a PlayStation fan first and foremost. My cloud preference is Stadia as it stands. But the reality is, next year, Richie, if you get that dongle you've wanted, I could get a trial of Game Pass for £1 and I could play Starfield, whatever Halo Infinite's doing at the time, whatever the new Gears of War, whatever the new Forza is, Sea of Thieves, plus all the AA, AAA games they add on over time. Outriders, Plague Tale Requiem is free next month. I'm going to play it on my PlayStation. It's going to cost me £50 to buy, but it's free on Game Pass next month. But because I don't play on Xbox and I like my trophies, I'm in that ecosystem. But I think as more time goes by, our viewers and listeners out there, us included, we're being shook out of that mold of one ecosystem when it comes to gaming. I want to just play games. I'll go where the games are.
I can generally see a future where I switch over to Xbox being my primary console, and as more PlayStation games exclusives come to PC, I could use GeForce Now to access them. Not this generation. This generation, I've already bought my PS5, so I'm in for the generation. But PS6, there's a question mark. It's not a guaranteed buy yet, depending how the industry develops in the next 5-10 years.
I mean, it might set you back about £700 the way inflation and shit's going at the moment.
Well, hopefully not. But I think that's all we have time for this week. If you liked the video, hit that like button and consider becoming a member for as little as 99p, where you can get early access to this very show. If you've got an idea for a topic you want us to discuss, let us know in the comments of the video or head over to our Discord server. Link is in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Richie.
I've been Chris.
Quest completed.